friends of Birth Star Astrology, welcome to another video. This one takes a look at Malefic and Benefic planets from the Vedic perspective. Of course, Malefic tends to bring evil results and Benefic tends to bring good results. But the confusion in Vedic astrology comes in with the fact that there are two different ways to quantify them, and this video is going to take a look at which one to use in which situation. So let's take a look. Okay, as mentioned, there are two different types, natural Malefic and Benefic, and functional Malefic and Benefic. First consideration is always going to go to the natural Malefic and Benefic in the chart. So these are used on all D1 Rasi charts or anytime the chart is static. When you're looking at a blank canvas that's just the potential of the native, and you're not concerned with transits or dashas or anything else in motion, you're just looking at the static planets and what they might mean to the houses. That's when you're looking at the natural Malefics and Benefics. And that's when it's going to give you an idea of, okay, Saturn's going to slow down my second house because it sits there and it's going to bring an evil effect to my wealth. That's when you sort of look at the natural Malefics and Benefics. The functional Malefics and Benefics come into play when you're looking at your dasha or when you're looking at transits or ashtak varga. These are the dynamic readings when you want to see where the D1 static chart goes when it's in motion with the planets transiting around. So you're going to use the functional Malefics and Benefics in this situation. And the confusing part comes in that each rising sign, each lagna, has its own set of Malefics and Benefics. So if you're used to Jupiter being a Benefic, that just might change depending on your lagna. So you really have to pay close attention when you're looking at dynamic charts. Okay, so let's go over the natural Malefics and Benefics, shall we? Okay, natural Malefics include Shani, Mangal, Surya, Buddha when with Malefic planets, so there needs to be some other association with the Malefic, and waning Chandra, and of course Rahu and Ketu, my favorite Malefics. Okay, natural Benefics include Guru, Shukra, waxing Chandra, and Mercury when with Benefics. So that's pretty simple. It's a little bit different than Western astrology, but as you get used to it, you'll see the balance of it, and if you apply it, you'll see it work. Okay, now how do we determine functional Malefics and Benefics and neutrals by rising sign? Let's start with the functional Malefics. The example is going to use Aries rising sign just to keep it simple. Okay, so from Aries, Lord of the 3rd, 6th, and 11th become functional Malefics. Pretty straightforward. But here's where it twists up a little bit. Lords of the 2nd, 12th, and 8th will act according to their association. So they're a little bit more ambiguous, and we have to look, give it a second look and see which houses they own exactly. If it's a positive and negative house, we're going to get a neutral situation. To determine the functional Benefics, this is pretty straightforward. It's going to be the 1st, 5th, and 9th Lord. They all become Benefics. The trinal houses, of course. And the lords of the 5th and 9th are primary wealth givers for the native too, so keep that in mind as you look. And the 1st lord is the strongest Benefic, due to it being Kendra and Trikona at the same time. And then following that, the 9th lord and the 5th lord are your strongest. Neutrals from Aries. If a Malefic owns an angle, it becomes a neutral in Malefic expression. So Brihat Parsara or Sastra, the book that we're going to go on for this example, there's a lot of different questions and schools of thought on how the functional Malefics and Benefics are determined, but I had to commit to one school for this. So we're going to go with the Brihat Parsara or Sastra. They don't come right out and say that a Malefic becomes a Benefic or a Benefic becomes a Malefic. It sort of implies that the Malefic fades off and the Benefic nature of it fades off and it just sort of neutralizes. But in no way does that mean that they're not significant planets because they are in Kendra. And those are always key locations, especially the 7th and 10th, because they contribute directly to the native's happiness. Okay, so let's just go through the functional Malefics and Benefics by lot. Starting with Aries, Malefics include Rahu, Ketu, and Mercury. Benefics include Jupiter, Mars, Moon, Sun. And neutrals for Aries are Saturn and Venus. So when you're looking at a dasha, if you're in a Rahu Mahadasha or a Mercury Mahadasha, you're going to realize, ooh, you know what? Considering my Aries rising sign, these are malefic planets for me, so I better look closer and not just assume that Mercury's going to just bring me some big boost in logic or something along those lines. You're going to want to kind of consider the malefic nature of how Mercury might twist and start to connive a little bit, and there might be more to the story there. So that's just an idea of how you can apply them there. Okay, moving on to Taurus, Lagna. Malefics include Rahu, Ketu. Interesting twist, Moon. And you'll have to look closely at the house ownership and other associations there to kind of understand why that's classified as a malefic. It's a little bit beyond the scope of this video. But also Jupiter, Mars, and Venus, another shocker because Venus is at home in Taurus. You wouldn't assume that, but be careful because it's malefic for a Taurus Lagna. Benefics include Saturn and Sun, and Mercury is the only neutral. Okay, so Gemini Lagnas, the malefic planets are Rahu, Ketu, Mars, Jupiter, and Sun, and benefics are Venus, just Venus in this case. And Mercury, Saturn, and Moon are neutrals. So you wouldn't think that Mercury would be neutral, but it's not fully dominant in a benefic nature with the houses that are on. So sometimes that happens. Just got to pay attention when you're looking at dynamic charts. Okay, Cancer Lagna, the malefics include Venus and Mercury. Benefics are Mars, Jupiter, and Moon. Neutral planets are Rahu, Ketu, Saturn, and Sun. So now, this is an interesting twist, and it's not greatly explained. But Rahu and Ketu are generally malefic, even in the functions. In this case, I do believe it's because the Moon is at home in Cancer. So they're a little bit of a different relationship in this situation. I think it's Ketu that's actually 5 houses away. So that's actually a trinal relationship. Kind of makes sense. Okay. Leo rising signs, Leo Lagna. Malefics include Rahu, Ketu, see them right back in place in the malefic category. Saturn, Mercury, and Venus. Benefics include Sun, Mars, and Jupiter. And Moon is a neutral. Virgo Lagna. Malefics include Rahu, Ketu, Moon, Mars, and Jupiter. Benefics include Venus and Mercury. And Sun is neutral. Libra Lagna, malefics include Rahu, Ketu, Sun, Jupiter, and Mars. Benefics include Saturn and Mercury. Venus, which you would not think is neutral, and Moon is neutral. Scorpio Lagna, malefics, Rahu, Ketu, Mercury, Saturn, and Venus. Benefics are Moon and Jupiter. Neutrals are Sun and Mars. So Mars doesn't get all the love. It is a neutral for Scorpio. Sagittarius Lagna, malefics include Rahu, Ketu, and Venus is a killer for Sagittarius. Benefics are Mars and Sun, and neutral is Moon, Saturn, Mercury, and Jupiter. On to Capricorn Lagna, malefics include Rahu, Ketu, Mars, Jupiter, and Moon. Benefics are Venus and Mercury, and neutrals are Saturn, which you would not expect, and Sun. Aquarius Lagna, malefics include Rahu, Ketu, Jupiter, Mars, and Moon. Benefics are Venus and Saturn, and neutrals are Sun and Mercury. And Pisces, malefics are Rahu, Ketu, Sun, Venus, Saturn, and Mercury. Benefics are Moon and Mars, and Jupiter is neutral, which you would not think being at home in Pisces. Okay, so let's look at how we apply this. I have an example of Saturn as the malefic and Jupiter as the benefic. This is a static D1 Rossi chart. We're looking at this and we go, okay, well, we know right off the bat that Saturn's going to slow down the house of wealth and Jupiter's going to promote relationships. But we got to look at all the aspects, so let's take a look. Saturn will be malefic in the areas of wealth, home, partners, and work for this native in general. When we're looking at transits, the functional malefic and benefic natures could shift things around a little bit, as could the dasha. And then in this example, Jupiter will be benefic in the areas of relationship gains, health, and intellect in general. Again, dashas will shift around what the priority is and which planets are active. Okay, and just to give you an idea of how the functional malefic and benefic planets would be applied to dynamic situations when looking at dashas, transits, ashtak varga, and so on, here's an example with an Aries rise, and then we'll just compare it to a Taurus rise to give you an idea, and you can extrapolate the theory from there and apply it. But for Aries rise, Rahu, Ketu, and Mercury are malefic. So if you look in Vimshottari Dasha, which is what I have listed here in order with the duration of years for each Mahadasha lord, if we're looking at the Mahadasha list and we're looking at the malefics for an Aries rise, we say, okay, well, look at Rahu, Ketu, and Mercury. They're going to be malefic periods for that person in general. Now, you're going to want to drill down further into the dashas and kind of see what your Antardasha does and so on. So it's not going to be a blanket statement that it's just going to be a horrible time, but it gives you some idea that that's going to be a rougher period for the native. Now, let's compare that and see how different the situation goes when you go from an Aries Lagna native to a Taurus. See how much more it's going to impact the malefic times on the Vimshottari Dasha for this person. It's going to be a little bit different. So therefore, a Taurus Lagna has a completely different life experience than an Aries does. And you don't really start to understand this until you get into functional Malefic and Benefic natures of everyone's chart. So that's what this video has been about. Hopefully you guys understand the difference between natural benefics and functional and when to apply both. And I welcome all the comments that you have on it because this is definitely a confusing topic with many different insights from different sages. So I'd love to have the discussion for anybody who checks this video out. And as always, if you like the content and you learned something, please share it with your friends. Be sure to tell everybody, subscribe, hit the alert button, and have a nice day. Thank you so much for stopping by.